Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to a brand new movie review, which, believe it or not, the New Mutants has finally been released in cinemas. And yes, this time this is actually going to be the real review for the New Mutants rather than the April Fool's video that I've done a few years back. A movie in which, no pun intended, was stuck in limbo for the longest time. After all these years, rumours, speculations and what have you, here's the final product. And was it really worth all the wait? Or should it have been left in limbo and just been through the rest of eternity? To which the answer to said question is a little shaky to explain, but without further ado, let's begin with this review. So for anyone who has been following me over the past few years, then you would know that I was incredibly pumped to see the New Mutants, and I've been covering this film during its production hell. And I was especially intrigued with the concept of the X-Men in a horror setting, because there is plenty of material you can go off of. And this is the whole thing about the New Mutants in a nutshell. In terms of its concept, it is fucking amazing, but with its overall execution, it really doesn't know what it wanted to be. And to me, this is the biggest problem with the New Mutants, in the sense that it's so jumbled up together with multiple ideas, but in the end it just kind of falls flat on its face by all accounts. Which is a huge shame, because the New Mutants, like I said, had a ton of potential and the concept of it was incredible. But by no means am I saying that the New Mutants is a bad film per se. However, its biggest sin is that it just falls flat on its promise. I do want to touch upon the cast for a brief moment, because quite frankly, there's not really much standouts per se, because a lot of the characters that they portray are just caricatures. And I wouldn't say that it's really any of the actors' fault, at least entirely, but in my eyes there are only two that did stick out to me. The first of which being Anya TaylorJoy as Magic, who I must say, she really does carry the movie. I believe she played her part flawlessly. I also think the characterization of Magic was really spot on, and even despite of its shaky structure and pacing, I do feel as if Magic did have the best character development in the entire film. And although it's probably unlikely at this point, I would love to see Anya TaylorJoy come back as Magic in the MCU at some point. Granted, did have to change the character somewhat so that she can fit better into the MCU, but honestly I think she would really shine there. And another standout in my eyes, although not in a good way, is Macy Williams as Wolfsbane. And it's not that it's a terrible performance, but I do feel like the accent was really obnoxious, and that I do know she is much better than this as an actress. And to me, she is almost as forgettable as the other four main characters, aside from Magic. And the whole romantic subplot between her and Moonstar just seemed incredibly forced and just doesn't add anything to the main plot at hand. Again, neither actress are terrible in this, and they do have fine chemistry, but the problem is, it just felt completely forced. And that the overall development just didn't seem natural to me. Speaking of identity crisis, the whole horror aspect of the New Mutants is so watered down to the point where it just came across as weak. Not only did I think that this film wasn't scary in the slightest, nor did it have any disturbing imagery to even warrant a 15 rating, but at no point in this film did they legitimately take advantage of the horror genre, which is such a shame. Like I said, the New Mutants tries to be a horror, superhero, romantic film, and yet it just doesn't really commit to any of the three and doesn't take advantage nearly as much as it should. And I've really not touched upon the story of this film yet, because there really isn't too much to go off of. Aside from the fact that you've got 5 mutants in a facility trying to escape while also developing their powers and ultimately facing off against their personal demons. And to me, this isn't a bad story by any stretch of the imagination, but the thing that lets this story down is just the terrible pacing, and that the movie doesn't really give you a chance to properly delve into each character and their overall backstory. Now, as for the action and special effects, there's only really one major fight scene in the entire film aside from a few scraps here and there. And to me, there's nothing that will blow your mind aside from some of the effects revolving around Magic and how Limbo looks, which, in fairness, it looks pretty fucking cool. And you also look at Sunspot and Cannonball and even some of the other characters aside from Magic and Demon Bear, you can tell that a lot of the budget just went into those specific characters and then just kind of brushed Sunspot and Cannonball to the side. Because a lot of special effects in this film do come across as really shaky to me. Even though this movie is only an hour and a half long, you can feel every second of it. And honestly, this film could have done for at least another 20 minutes of just fleshing out the characters, or at the very least add in some more scares and mutant powers. But to me, The New Mutants is such a difficult movie to talk about because there are some genuinely great moments throughout the film, and that there are at least one or two characters that I did enjoy for the most part. But the thing that holds this movie back is that, for one, it doesn't deliver on said promise of it being a horror X-Men film, and even as a movie on its own, it just feels incredibly choppy in so many areas. I wouldn't say that The New Mutants is a bad film, and to be honest, I do think that The New Mutants is somewhere in the middle as far as X-Men movies are concerned. But to me, The New Mutants at the end of the day is a massive disappointment, and it is such a shame to say because I've been looking forward to this film for years. And so for the final verdict for The New Mutants, I have to be fair, I can't give it any more than a 5 out of 10. I've seen worse X-Men films than this, and no doubt there are much worse movies out there, but the biggest sin of The New Mutants is that it is forgettable and that it just squanders its potential. So what do you think of The New Mutants if you have already seen it yet? Do you believe that it has completely squandered its potential, or do you believe that people are being too harsh on the film? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.